The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
15,000 members of the National Guard are patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C., with 10,000 more on the way in hopes that we won't have a repeat of what happened on January 6th or worse. We've been seeing more footage of what happened inside the Capitol that day, and it's a lot worse than a lot of people guessed. Fortunately, these geniuses taped it all for us. They documented their crimes for the FBI to see, but there were some moments of levity, like this video shot by a New Yorker reporter who had been following the coup and honors leading up to the attack. This tells you just about all you need to know about the free dum-dums who barged onto the Senate floor.
And look here, look.
Ted Cruz's objection to the Arizona.
Cruz's objection. He was going to sell us out all along. Really? What? Objection to counting electoral votes of the state of Arizona. Can I get a photo of that? Wait, no, that's a good thing. That's actually okay. All right. I'm pissed. He's with us.
Okay, first of all, Ted Cruz doesn't have any friends, so I'll stop you right there. And secondly, I just wish these people were smart enough to know how dumb they are.
That was a Jimmy Kimmel, people. And this is the Daily Read, and I'm your host, Marcus Gentry. I had to take care of some personal business Sunday, so I'm doing the show here today on this Wednesday, or actually Tuesday. And tomorrow we'll have a new president. For all my truck drivers out there to listen to my show, and I want to thank you guys. We had a crazy year. Actually, we had a crazy 4 years, and the madness is about to end. Tomorrow, 12 o'clock, noon, high noon, it's over with. And you're going to see bottle rockets and firecrackers in the streets tomorrow, people. I promise you. But on today's show, we're going to talk about the rise of this white supremacist movement. It's actually already been here. Everybody's calling it a rise and the uptick in these right-wing nutcases, but they already been here. They in your police departments, they in the military, they're the firemen, you know, they the cool guy that say you guys, and I have plenty of black friends and things like that. But deep down in their heart, they really feel like America is theirs. On today's show, we're going to talk about how Flint, Michigan, the dirty water in Flint that poison all the kids and people in Flint, Michigan, and how that plays a part in Donald Trump's rise and the things that went on with that. You see, Flint, Michigan was a sad case that almost went under the radar. It was for shows like Rachel Maddow who brought it out. So I'm going to play clips of her because she was the first one to report on this. So I'm finna jump right into it, people.
The thing about the Flint disaster, the thing that drew us to report the story in the first place, the thing about it that helps us understand the disaster that we're now in as a country, I think, is that the story of Flint was really the story of giving up on democracy. At the start of Snyder's first term as Michigan's new Republican governor a decade ago, Rick Snyder signed legislation that allowed him to just overturn an election anywhere in Michigan he wanted to. Yeah, in your town, you could elect your mayor and your town council and all that. But if Rick Snyder didn't like the people who you elected, by that legislation, he gave himself the power to reject the choices you and your town made in your election. He gave himself the power to declare an emergency, ignore the results of any Democratic election, and instead just install his own hand-picked person to come in and run your town or your city or your school board without any need to have any pesky answering to the voters. People kept making the wrong choices with their democracy. And so by rule, by order from the governor of the state, Democratic choices would be overruled. They would be done away with because he knew better. And the people he gave himself the power to install were called emergency managers. The idea being that they would step in at the governor's say-so, fix some sort of emergency, and then hand back the reins of government to democracy, to local democratically elected officials.
You see, I had to take it back to Flint, Michigan, people. You see, on previous shows, we talked about how the Confederacy played a big role in the rise of Donald Trump and these right-wing nutcases. We already talked about how Abraham Lincoln, he didn't execute those traitors. He let them go back home to the South, and they were treated as heroes when they got back home. They couldn't go back into government, but they taught their kids hatred. They taught their kids the Southern way of life. And instead of their kids growing up to be crooks and criminals, their kids went on into government and became crooks and criminals. And slowly, Jim Crow arose. We knocked that down with the civil rights movements. And then they slowly started implementing Jim Crow all over again. They don't call it that. You see, these governors, they get in their own states and they enact these laws that make it harder for black people to vote. And once you can't vote for the people who you know are going to help you, then you just got to sit back and wait on somebody that's helping other people, particularly white people that's in Congress helping white people. And that's basically what's been going on. You see, the reason why I brought the whole Flint, Michigan up, because this is the stunt that they tried to pull with America. That whole riot incident that happened on the 6th, it was a coup attempt. They thought they was going to overturn the election just like that governor did in Flint, Michigan. You see, he was appointing Republicans. If he didn't like who the people picked in his city or towns in his state, he would scrap it and appoint somebody that he wanted to be in that position. And more than likely, he probably got paid for it. People probably lobbied him, gave him a couple of $100,000, and he put him in charge of a whole city. And now that's what leads up to today. You see, all of this is a domino effect. It's been going on and on and on for a long time. And these knuckleheads in Washington, D.C. that went in there calling themselves patriots, they don't realize that they were set up. They were set up because if they would have succeeded, they would have captured or killed Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi, and the fourth in line for the presidency. That means the only person left would have been Donald Trump and Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo works for Donald Trump. He's the Secretary of State. So if they would have killed anybody in there, the people that they were looking for, it would have officially decapitated the head of the country. But since it didn't work, the whole plan didn't work, now Donald Trump is throwing these people under the bus. He's saying what they did was wrong, that his movement doesn't have any violence to it. He's trying to save his own skin now. We came close, people. We came close to the end. All Donald Trump had to do, if the first dead body would have came out of there that was a government official, not the police officers that died, I'm talking about a congressman or a senator, all Donald Trump had to do was declare a national emergency and sent this whole country into lockdown, and the military would have followed him. You see, you got to think back on this summer, or actually it wasn't this summer, it was this fall, when he fired the head of the Defense Department. When he fired this guy, he replaced him with a Trump stooge. And everybody was going crazy trying to figure out why he did that. It ain't hard to put two and two together. They already knew this riot was going to happen. It was an inside job. If he would have killed Nancy Pelosi, Mike Pence, and I can't think of the man's name who's over the Senate, but he's the president in poor. If they would have captured and killed them three people right there, and all of them was in the Senate when the riot happened, and it was a blessing that the Secret Service got them people out of there, before the rioters got to them. They have video of teams of well-trained military men, probably ex-military, going into that building. The rioters was all around screaming and hollering, but there was a quiet snake of soldiers walking through the crowd going inside that building. These men had camouflage on, they had flak jackets on, bulletproof vest on, and they had zip ties. They was going in there to do some business. But like I said, luckily, the Secret Service got them people out of there in time. Or this whole outcome would have been bloody, and it would have been very different. The thing about it is that Donald Trump didn't realize that January 20th, his term in office would have ended anyway, because that's what this says in the Constitution. So even if Mike Pence would have died, Nancy Pelosi would have died, and the president of the Senate. The president of the Senate usually is the eldest member of the Senate. He's the fourth in line for the presidency. It don't matter if he's Democrat or Republican. The eldest member of the Senate, whenever a president is elected, he is the fourth in line to the presidency. And if they would have got a hold of them three people right there, all Donald Trump would have had to do was call a national emergency, lock the whole country down, and the government would have been under his control for at least another week. And there's no telling what they would have tried to do. Because on January 20th, his term in office would have ended. More than likely, the Republicans would have met and tried to make some kind of amendment to keep Donald Trump in office. That's probably what would have happened. Because where it stands right now, if they wouldn't have did that, he still would have had to get out of office on January 20th, regardless of whether he called a national emergency or not. This is some dangerous stuff. These people don't even know what they're doing. I'm finna get into the first commercial break, and when we get back, we're gonna go a little deeper into this.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
The foreign exchange, or forex market, is the world's largest financial market, and it plays a vital role in the global economy. Every day, trillions of dollars are exchanged from one currency to another. This kind of currency exchange is essential for international business. Forex market participants include governments, businesses, and of course, investors. Governments use the forex market to implement policies. For example, when conducting business with another country, whether it's borrowing money, lending money, or offering aid, a country needs to convert its currency into a foreign currency. Businesses use the forex market to facilitate international trade. For example, they may need to convert payments for goods and services bought overseas, or to exchange payments from international customers into their preferred currency. And investors use the forex market to speculate on changes in currency prices. Currency prices change almost constantly during the week because the forex market is open continuously from Sunday at 4 p.m. until Friday at 4 p.m. Central Time. A trading day starts at 4 p.m. and ends at 4 p.m. Central Time the following day. The market has to be open around the clock because of the global nature of the economy. Let's go over some basics of how trading forex works. When you trade forex, you're not just trading one product. You're trading two currencies against each other. This is known as a currency pair. The quote for a forex currency pair defines the value of one currency relative to the other. The easiest way to understand any quote is to read the pair from left to right. Let's look at an example using the euro versus the US dollar currency pair. If the EUR-USD is trading at 1.20, that means 1 euro is equal to $1.20 US dollars. Here's another example using the US dollar versus the Canadian dollar currency pair. If the USD CAD is trading at 1.25, that means
the business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
I think if you look at so much of this darkness, It is not the darkness of the beginning of something. This is not a launch party that you're seeing on the other side of the screen. This is a funeral for something. It is a funeral for white supremacy. It is a funeral for a kind of outdated, outmoded male power. It is a mourning for a time in which certain Americans could feel and claim to be the default of an American and not have to share. And what we have witnessed in this era, alongside the depredations of Donald Trump, is another story too, a longer story. This was also this past year that just ended, the year of extraordinary protests on the street for Black Lives Matter that also corresponded with extraordinary shifts in mainstream white opinion about racism. This was also the year gone by in which white people were, in the reading they were doing and what was happening in their workplaces and beyond, grappling with race in ways that were unthinkable 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Let me put that in layman terms for you. What that man is saying is, America, don't worry too much. Keep your eyes open and watch. But that riot at the Capitol, that was the death of all of this white supremacy. Some of y'all thinking it's the start of something. And what I've been telling you all along, it's already been here. Okay? It's already been here since the Civil War. It's been here. And what he's trying to tell you is, those people that ran up in that Capitol are feeling the pressure. What he's telling you is that we minorities in this country are gaining more and more power to the point where we got money too. It's not all the way equal yet. And that's what these people are trying to slow down or stop. So basically what he's telling you is, we almost there. This is the death cry of the whole white supremacy movement, not the beginning. And now that they've showed their hand, the government is going to smash them. We have too many minorities in the military. When you looked at the crowds of the people that marched this summer for Black Lives Matter, back in the 60s, you wouldn't have seen that many white people. You literally had just as many white people out there marching than you had blacks. Back in the 60s, during the Civil Rights era, you had more blacks and with one or two whites scattered here and there. And usually those whites that was with them were Jews. Jewish Americans who hung out with blacks. You just didn't have that many whites marching like that. I looked at a snake line in Nashville, here in Nashville. I looked at a line of marchers going from the Jefferson Bridge all the way downtown. They had an aerial view, a helicopter view of the marchers. When I tell you that it was more white people in that line marching than blacks, I mean it. So what the man is trying to tell you is, they tried it. They tried to bring the Confederacy back over the last 60 years with I can't think of his name right now. It'll come to me in a minute. But Nixon defeated him. I'm going to get his name in a second. But they tried to bring it back when Nixon was a racist too. But Nixon wasn't the stomp on your neck racist. Nixon was the type of racist who tell the blacks, you stay over in your area, make all the money you want to make, just stay over there. The guy that ran against Nixon, he was the kind that he didn't want you to have nothing. He didn't want you around in their neighborhoods, and he was going to send the police to smash you and beat you up if you got a successful business. That's the type of racist he was, the guy that Nixon ran against. So they tried it. They tried it then. They tried it with Donald Trump, and it didn't work. It was 1,000 people, they say, went up in the Capitol. and overran the Capitol Police, and they didn't get nobody. One police officer died, and 4 people that was in their crowd died by heart attack. Somebody had a heart attack. One big woman, she had a "don't tread on me," and this is some crazy stuff. This is hold on for a second. This is some crazy stuff, people. Y'all got to have an understanding that these bigots out here is crying because they on their last leg. They can't survive no longer. And now that they're on the government's radar, it's finna get terrible for them. I got the lovely Shantae on the phone, and I want to ask her what she thinks about what happened with the January 6th riots in the Capitol. It's a good friend of mine, people. It's my baby.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes?
You on the Daily Read.
Okay.
Let me know what you think about that.
Hi, everyone.
Let me know about that raid at the Capitol. What you think about it?
Well, I think it was an eye-opener. I think it was an eye-opener for people who were really blind to what was really going on in America. Because they don't live in the inner city, but they really don't know anybody in the inner city, so they didn't know what was really going on. So I feel like it was a real eye-opener for a lot of people.
Well, see, what I was telling the people out there that listen to the show, that, you know, like the man was just saying, this is the death knell of them. People are thinking that this is the rise of white supremacy. It's not. They've been here. They're feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
They're feeling the pressure that more minorities are starting to have what they have. When I moved into this area, I was the only minority. Actually, me and you both was the only minorities on this block out of 14 houses. Now there's 7 minority families live on this block and 7 white families. And this is what they fear. The balancing out is coming, and they can't stop it. And now that Donald Trump lost that whole Capitol riot, which I think it was an inside job, and now that it's over with and the police is starting to round some of these people up and crack down on these militias, now you finna start seeing some.
Did you just say that you thought that the riot was an inside job?
Yes, I think it was an inside job. What do you think?
It definitely was an inside job. Did you see the security and the Capitol Police taking pictures with them?
That's right.
And guiding them inside?
That's
so
right.
Of course it was an inside job.
You had the Capitol Police had sent half the force home early. That's the first thing happened. The day before, he stopped what is it? Basically the military from coming up there in the first place. That's right. They called for backup. The military denied them backup. The day before, Republican senators or congressmen were touring white supremacy groups, showing them the place, giving them the layout of the place, because none of them people even knew how to get around in that building. I don't even think half them people that was there even been in that building.
Yeah.
So they was doing reconnaissance. Donald Trump had invited these people up here. And on top of all that, you know, he sent them down there. They knew this was coming. I think Bill Barr all the way down knew it was coming. Bill Barr quit. He put in his resignation letter in December. And I promise you, I think all of them, it was in the know that they was going to try something like this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They knew it was coming.
Oh, yeah.
They knew it was coming when he told them to stand back but stand by. Or
Right.
stand by or whatever he said. They knew it was coming.
Let me get into this next clip.
And so I have been trying as a practice, because I'm as despairing as everybody else right now, to remember that what we are witnessing in so many of these dark days is backlash. Backlash. It's not the engine of history. It's a backlash against the engine of history. These people that you're seeing are not the future. They are the barnacles on the future that is going to happen with or without them. And what
let me stop that clip right there, because it's important what he just said. Basically, he's telling America these people are the throwbacks that's dying out. They dying out and they crying out. For all my truck drivers out there, y'all understand that. These people are dying out and they crying out because they feel like they being left behind. They don't want to conform. They don't want to be around minorities. And if they do be around minorities, it's for a brief moment at the grocery store. They don't want you in their neighborhoods. They don't want you driving the same type of cars they drive or having the same type of money they got. They're the barnacle. They're the corn on the feet of America. They used to be America, but now they're like a pimple that's finna be popped. Because now that the FBI and the whole world has seen it out in the open. See, they used to work under the shadows. They would blend in with police departments and brutalize minorities. They would blend in the military. They would blend in the Congress, blend in the Senate. But now what's happening is they've been exposed out in the open for the whole world to see. So now the FBI has to do something about these people, which is going to totally crush them now. I want to thank you for the call, and I'm going to get back with you.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Me and Bae gon' always be tight, though you not with me every single day and night. Even when they start to acting like a fool, yeah, they loving every single thing you do. You know that they can always be themselves. They love each other more than anybody else. And every day as you see them on YouTube, you know there's not one, it'll always be just two. Two stupid Emily, two stupid Emily, two stupid family. They'll make you scream. It makes me wanna sing. It's a family thing, a family. Two stupid family, stupid family. They'll push your buttons. It makes me wanna cry. It's a family thing, a family. Two stupid family.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
And we're back with the Daily Read, and I'm your host, Marcus Gentry. I'm going to finish up this last segment. Like I say, tomorrow's going to be a new day. We're going to have a new sheriff in town. We're going to have a new general counsel. We're going to have a new DAs all across the country. These people are dying out. They dying out and they crying out. Donald Trump was a fit. He was all the accumulation of hatred that has been built up since the civil rights movement that these people have kept under wraps. Donald Trump exploded it. They put him in office so he can say what they can't say. Because if they say it, they're going to get smacked in the face. Back in the days, you know, you get seen somewhere, they might kick you in the rear end, spit on you, call you the N-word, and all you could do is put your head down and keep going because you didn't want to get hung in a tree somewhere. But now, if something like that happens, they're liable to get beat up or shot. So they have to keep quiet and go on about their business. And it's killing them. It's hurting these people. Donald Trump was he was a fit, like the little kid in the grocery store that want his favorite snack, but mama saying, "No, put it back," and he just falls out on the floor. That's what Donald Trump was. And I promise you that now that we done had that fit, and now that these white supremacists have come out in the open, 23 off-duty or retired police officers was involved in that riot. 3 or 4 firemen and several retired military was involved in that riot. You had 4 different militia groups. You had the 3 percenters, you had the Proud Boys, and you had 2 other groups. I think one of them was that militia up in Michigan, and you had another one out in Texas. One man told his son, one of the men that got arrested told his son if he turned him in, he was going to kill him because he was a traitor. That lets you know these people are dying out because his own son didn't agree with what his dad was doing. That means his son is the next generation. His son is the one that got interviewed by the news people and told them that his father said, yeah, they saw my face on TV, but if you say anything about it, I'm going to put a bullet in you. They got him in federal custody right now. These people came from all over America for their racism. And the plan didn't work. So since the plan didn't work, Donald Trump is throwing these people under the bus. These people won't get no pardons. They're not going to get, it's not going to happen. Because what's going to happen is if Donald Trump pardons all of these people, they're going to go after Donald Trump. Listen to how this congressman says she came to work the day before the riot and saw other congressmen that was in the Republican Party walking these people around, showing them the layout of the Capitol building.
I'm a former Navy helicopter pilot. I served for almost 10 years. And so at every duty station, whether it was in Norfolk or in Manama, Bahrain, and at every overseas place I was and I would enter as a military member, we would receive a security brief. And that security brief, we would be told to look for things that were out of place, look for things that were odd, and look at them with an eye towards security. And so if somebody was loitering around my helicopter on the tarmac, that would be questionable to me, for example. And so I arrived in the Capitol the week of the 6th, and I was very secure. I was very concerned about the violent crowds, the violent extremist groups that were coming to the Capitol for the mobs on the 6th, called there by the president. And I told my staff not to come in that day, to work remotely, not to be anywhere near the Hill. And I was really shocked when I got into the House office building and saw these groups inside. And what was so shocking is as you brought, as you mentioned, visitors aren't allowed in the Capitol complex. Since March, since the start of COVID, that has been shut down. All tours are shut down. That was true in the last Congress and was reiterated on January 3rd in the new Congress that there would be no tours allowed, even tours given by members. And so the only reason you'd have a visitor is on official business. So to see these groups around the Capitol complex was really striking.
This was some strange stuff, people. I have on the phone with me a family member of mine. He's ex-military. I want to get his opinion on what he thinks about that whole riot. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing okay.
From your military background, man, and from what you've seen of this whole riot, with the a lot of them people were just angry white people. But I don't know if you've seen that video clip that the news has been showing where you got a whole bunch of angry old white people pointing towards the street, waving flags, and then you got this small group of military-dressed militiamen with their hands on each other's shoulders like the snake line, walking up in between these rioters, going up into the Capitol building. They looked like they meant some business.
Yeah.
What do you think about that whole situation?
You talking about the events that occurred January 6th when they stormed the Capitol, right?
Yeah.
I think they was going to do a whole lot of stuff. I think if it would have went the way they wanted it to go, they was going to shoot, kill, maim, anything they had to do Donald Trump bidding.
Right.
And once he got up in there, I'm thinking he was going to try to remain in power. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
New World Order type stuff. That's what I think was really going on. Because if you watch a bunch of the video clips, you'll see some of the cops was taking selfies with them, and they was showing them where to go in at and all that. It's on every level.
That's right.
A couple of elected officials got caught.
That's right. I have a picture up here on my screen of all of the people that's the next in line to the presidency after Donald Trump. And each and every one of these people was in that building. First of all,
wow.
Mike Pence, they was talking about hanging him. He was in that building. Nancy Pelosi, she was in that building. She's out. If something happened to Donald Trump, Mike Pence will take over. If Mike Pence dies, Nancy Pelosi takes over. If Nancy Pelosi dies, it's called the President Pro Tempore of the Senate. That's Chuck Grassley. That's the name I was meaning to her, I had on my tip of my tongue earlier. Right after Chuck Grassley was Mike Pompeo. Now Mike Pompeo was out of the country. And Mike Pompeo is a diehard Trump supporter. So that means if they would have took out Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Grassley, Mike Pompeo made a statement a few weeks ago when they asked him, was he ready for a Biden administration? He said he's ready to do another 4 years of Trump. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that video. But yeah, he was real confident about that. That's why I say it was... I think, to be honest with you, Trump was the end game for these white supremacists to take over this country. But what happened is he is just not intelligent enough to pull this off.
Exactly.
If they would have had somebody like Ted Cruz or this other new guy they got that stood up, I can't think of his name right now, but if they would have had somebody like Ted Cruz or Paul Ryan or even the guy up in the Senate, the one who runs the Senate right now, I can't think of his name. I'm sorry, people. It's a lot of things going on right now. But Mitch McConnell, if they would have had somebody like Mitch McConnell's very intelligent and very devious, they had Donald Trump running it, and it went south.
Yep.
So
you got some naysayers there, because I believe the evidence speaks for itself.
Yeah. Now,
because if it had been any other group, it would have been a lot of dead people out there. Let's just keep it 100.
Yeah. If Black Lives Matter would have came to that Capitol, matter of fact, they wouldn't even made it up them steps.
Exactly.
They wouldn't have made it up the steps.
Everybody know that. No matter what faction you belong to or what your opinion is, whether you're Democrat or Republican, everybody know that Black Lives Matter. Half the people would have been dead.
Right, before they even got to the steps. They wouldn't even got to them doors to bust no windows out.
Yep.
Now check this out. This is why I knew that they already had this plotted. Okay. I got the picture up on my screen.
Right.
Vice President Pence was in there. They was looking for him. Speaker of the House was in there, Nancy Pelosi. They was looking for her. They never said nothing about Chuck Grassley, but he was in that building too. And more than likely, if they would have got their hands on him, they probably would have killed him too. Okay, that left Mike Pompeo, who was out of the country, the next in line for the presidency. The next in line for the presidency after him is the Secretary of Treasury, Steve Mnuchin, which is another Trump supporter. The next in line after him is the Secretary of Defense. His name is Christopher Miller. Now remember, about a month ago, Donald Trump replaced that guy.
Yeah.
And guess who's after him? The Attorney General Bill Barr was gonna be next, but he quit. So the next,
they won't know parts because it sounded like the whole thing was, orchestrated. Like
exactly, it sounded like the whole thing was orchestrated because
they meditated, months ago. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Everybody that probably wasn't down with this, Steve Mnuchin quit. He fired the Secretary of Defense and replaced him with a Trump supporter. Bill Barr quit last month in December, and they replaced him with a Trump supporter, guy named Jeffrey Rosen. So if they would have went in that building like they was planning on and killing Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Grassley, they would have ran this country. And the military would have had to run along with it because Secretary of Defense was replaced with this guy named Christopher Miller, who's a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
We
He's
came
gonna
next.
be a dictator then, because I don't think he's gonna give up that power. Wasn't gonna be no more elections if he'd had it his way.
Right. So this was all set in motion probably months ago.
So you got a lot of people that just, I don't know if they too naive or they just don't want to believe.
Well,
the proof is in the pudding. I mean,
it is. My thing is I think a lot of the militia knew what was going on. But as far as all of them crazy people that went in there, I don't think they all was in the know. They was the pawns. They was the cannon fodder to get those militia in that building undercover.
Right. And the few people they had with the with the names and stuff, that, they was trying to get in there and do their bit, but they wasn't counting on them cops in there to start shooting.
Right. That woman that got shot, well, I think the militia knew that eventually the guns was going to come out because they wore flak jackets.
Right.
Now the normal people who was just there to raise hell because of Trump, they was in there with their face uncovered. They was in there with regular blazers on, not blazers, but pullovers or hoodies with no face mask on. But now those militia men that went in that building, they had gear on their faces. They looked like they was going there and do some business.
Yeah, that's in case they was going to throw gas, and the flak jackets are actually not bulletproof. Those for bombs like grenades and pipe bombs to stop the shrapnel from piercing your body.
Okay, like
so
rubber bullets.
They knew it was going to be some type of exposure. That's what flak jackets for. They only for grenades and stuff like that because they don't stop military bullets. They don't stop AR-15 bullets.
Yeah, this was a failed, inept attempt by a wannabe dictator who he tried to be like Vladimir Putin, but he just ain't savvy enough. He Vladimir Putin is a dangerous man.
Yeah, he a real gangster.
Yeah, he's a real very dangerous man. But see, and that's why Donald Trump admires him. But Donald Trump is not Vladimir Putin. He can't pull nothing like that off here. And they came close, but they came close. Because even though the Secret Service had them guns, if enough of a mob, they only had 8-9 shots. Enough of them people would have swarmed over them Secret Service, they would have got to Nancy Pelosi. Period.
Yeah.
Well, this is the end of my show, and I want to thank you, Sean, for attending the show, man, and giving me your perspective of it. I just wanted to get a ex-military man, I wanted to get your take on it, man, because I've been studying this thing all week, and I happened to pull up this picture of the line of succession to the presidency, and I know if I can find this, the FBI already got all this information right here.
Exactly.
They looking at the fact that you replaced the Secretary of Defense 2-3 weeks ago, the Attorney General quit, the Secretary of Treasury quit, Steve Mnuchin. Mike Pompeo was a diehard Trump lover. He was out of the country. The only 3 people that were standing in his way for being a total dictator was Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Grassley. And all of them was in that building.
Well, a lot of people sleep at their job, because when he was giving that speech, talking about go to Capitol Hill and this and that and the third, he was talking in circles, but you could pretty much guess what he was saying.
Yeah. But see, the thing about it is, it came out that they sent some of the Capitol Police home early.
Now, why would you do something like that if you're expecting something to happen?
Right, that's strange. And on top of that, one of the Democrat congresswomen said when she walked in, she was surprised to see the day before the riots a group of militia people getting a tour of the Capitol.
Yeah.
And she was like, no,
and it was suspended because of the COVID.
Right, all of that was suspended. That's right. So if we could put this 2 and 2 together, the feds already is on all of this.
Yeah, so that lets you know a lot of people at the top was in on it too.
That's right. And see, what they waiting on is for Joe Biden to get in office. Because see, once Joe Biden get in office, it's a whole new sheriff in town.
Right.
And all of this is finna come to a head. Well, I want to thank you, Sean, man. I'm finna end the show. And I hope all y'all out there in radio land, I hope y'all learned something today, man. Y'all keep y'all eyes open. Tomorrow's going to be a bright new day for America. This is the Daily Read, and I'm out.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Business.